Kenji. Come on down. Kenji Taguma. He's an award-winning journalist, a native of Sacramento, California, and he served as the English section editor of the Nichi Bei Times, Northern California's oldest Japanese-American newspaper, since September of 1995. And then when the Times was closed down, Kenji did lead the group of former Nichi Bei staff, contributing writers, community leaders, and media professionals, and created, the Nichi Bei Foundation, a gutsy move, I gotta say, and pioneered the first nonprofit ethnic newspaper of its kind in the country. So the Nichi Bei Weekly, and he goes around appearing on panels and radio and TV broadcasts, speaking on issues in the community press and the importance of the medium, and particularly its role in educating and empowering the community, which is really what we're all about and have always been about. Kenji?
Next slide. Thanks for having me today. I just want to go through a bit of the somewhat complex history of the Nichi Bei. I think we came in 3 chapters or 3.5 chapters. Next slide, please. Next slide. First of all, the Nichi Bei Times was founded as a way to get the community reconnected after our devastating wartime incarceration and concentration camps. First edition was May 18, 1946. It was the oldest Japanese-American newspaper in Northern California. Some of the former staff of the Nichi Bei Shimbun before the war, including the only child of Kyutaro and Yona Abiko, helped founded the newspaper. Next slide, please. This is the opening of our building in 1972. At the microphone is Tsutomu Mezu. Behind him is Chura Obata, the artist, who was a friend of someone. Mr. Asano Shichinosuke is on the right looking down. He is the main founder of the Nichi Bei Times after the war, and some politicians like Quentin Kopp and Senator Milton Marks, who's no longer with us. Next slide, please. Kyutaro Abiko is widely known as the most prominent, influential Japanese immigrant to America. Besides founding the Nichi Bei Shimbun in 1899, which also had an office in Los Angeles eventually, was known to be the most influential pre-war newspaper. He also founded 3 Japanese farming colonies in Central California, the most famous Yamato colony in Livingston, Cortez, and Cressy. Cressy, I think, is where Pat Suzuki, the singer, was raised. He also formed a Japanese-American labor contracting company, so he brought laborers from Japan. He was a very big pro-assimilationist, so he's influential in the fact that he tried to get Issei to forget about going back to Japan, but instead to settle roots in America. He also started a bank and this program to send Nisei overseas back to Japan during the summer to learn about their roots. Next slide, please. His wife, Yona Abiko, took over as a publisher when he passed away in 1936. She is the younger sister of Umeko Tsura, who many may know as the pioneer of women's education in Japan. Umeko Tsura started the Tsura College for Women in 1900. Next slide, please. And so when the YWCA tried to sell the building and evict Nihonmachi Little Friends in the 90s, there was a community lawsuit to try to get the building retained in the community because it was found in old meeting minutes that because of the racist alien land laws at the time, the Japanese community could not buy the building outright. So they made an agreement with the YWCA to purchase the building in trust. And it was Yona Abiko's diary which was crucial evidence in that case. And today, Nihonmachi Little Friends owns the historic former Japantown YWCA building. Next slide, please. They had, Yona and Kyutaro Abiko only had one child, Yasuo Abiko, who's my predecessor as both the English editor and vice president. He was one of the 6 founders after the war of the Nichi Bei Times. And before the war, just to clarify, Nichi Bei Shimbun was a sole proprietorship. It was an Abiko paper. And then their family papers are here at UCLA. But after the war, there was a group of 100 people who got together to create the newspaper by distributing shares, selling shares. And so it became more of a corporation. although it has that shared legacy. Next slide, please. Mr. Asano is someone who's not really well known. He has 2 books written on him in Japanese, and he was a protege of the first commoner prime minister of Japan, Takashi Keihara, who is famous for being assassinated in I think captured in a famous Life magazine shot, being stabbed. But he was considered an undersecretary of Prime Minister Hara, who told him to go to America and make a difference. He was a longtime correspondent for Asahi Shimbun, which is why there was always a Asahi Shimbun connection. And after the war, he used the early pages of the Nichi Bei to raise awareness for post-war relief efforts in Japan. While Japanese Americans themselves came out of camp with pretty much nothing, they realized that those in Japan had even worse off because they were bombed, they were starved. So Mr. Asano led a movement in the Bay Area to raise money and raise goods, medicine, clothes, shoes. They even have goats and cattle. So 20% of 17 tons that were sent to Japan through different relief organizations, 20% of it was from groups in North and South America, Japanese American groups, and he led the Bay Area effort. Next slide, please. And for his work in U.S.-Japan relations, he was awarded 3 Kunsho Medal of Honor from the Japanese Emperor. Today they gave him from the consulate, but these were from the Emperor himself. And we have pictures of him presenting the post-war relief goods to the Emperor in Yokohama, and he would be the one who would introduce Emperor Hirohito at the events. Next slide. Okay. 2004, he was inducted into Morioka Memorial Museum of Great Predecessors, along with his mentor Takashi Hara, as well as people like Inazo Nitobe, who wrote the Code of Bushido. Next slide, please. Oh, that just says the same thing. In 2004, 2005, we did something that was groundbreaking for us at the time. First time we did a joint Japanese-English section series on whether Japanese Americans had a responsibility to be a bridge between U.S. and Japan. It started out with the column by Chizo Omori, which kind of offended some of our younger Japanese staff. So I had to talk to them over the course of 2 days, 6 hours, about the different legacies we have in terms of racism, because you realize that younger people from Japan and even Yonsei growing up in the Bay Area may not have the same concept of racism. And so we talked about whether Japanese Americans had a responsibility to be a bridge and cross-cultural relations between Japanese-speaking and English-speaking people within the community. And we did this in Japanese and English, and this won the Overseas Japanese Press Association Grand Prize in Tokyo. Next slide, please. Over the course of the years, like other papers, we cover different struggles in the community. Next slide, please. One of the things we covered a lot and got a community service award from the new California media, now New American Media, is a struggle for Japanese American railroad and mine workers fired during World War II, even though they were in the interior of the country. Next slide, please. Next. Oh, that's it. And that's the thing. Next slide. So the very core of what we're trying to do is community empowerment and preservation. And I think one of the things that I'm all at every day is that we're actually documenting history. When we see people, researchers come and look at the old newspapers from 50 to 100 years ago, I realize that that's one of our great roles, is that we're documenting the community's history for researchers in the future. Next, please. Back in 2005, we had been surveying our readership, particularly in English, to see what the challenges were, and they said it was too costly. They were paying $160 for something they could only read 20% of. Their parents subscribe, and they get the paper from someone else, which is the kind of recycling that we discourage. Next, please. And so in 2006, we launched we separated the English and Japanese, made the Japanese 3 days a week, and made the English once a week, and also created the bilingual. So we inserted it in 2006, which was our 60th anniversary year. Next slide, please. And that's the first edition. Next. And some of the things I think we've done, we're really proud of is, for about 3 years now, back in the Nichi Bei Times and the Nichi Bei Weekly, we've been doing a annual multiracial, multi-ethnic community. Particularly, it's important that we give a voice to the voiceless, as the previous slide said, a segment of the community that was once marginalized. And we're very proud of our multiracial, multi-ethnic issues. And the middle one, we had a green issue, and this was actually the first English language and environmental issue in the country of any Asian American paper back in 2008. So we're really proud of that. We had 12 pages of eco-consciousness stories and content. Can I go back one slide? Okay. We have done comprehensive resources like the Cherry Blossom Guide, the Obon and Bazaar Summer Festivals Guide, which we send to every Buddhist church in the country, cover all the festivals, even Nisei Week. Next slide, please. We also do, I think we passed it up, but we did also, since 2006, did an anime manga issue. And this is when we announced the closure of the Nichi Bei. The board of directors did, and at the same time, on the very day, I announced that we had been starting this foundation, and it's separate. The Nichi Bei Times board of directors did not give us 1 cent, but we were planning this along as news of the, when it seemed evident that the company was going to close. I'd been working since maybe July, August, September of 2009, literally 20 hours a day, to get this started and create a board of directors to create this nonprofit foundation. A lot of things happened in synchronicity, and we were kind of lucky in that respect. But next slide, please. And that is a blue screen. Oh. This is the very last issue of the Nichi Bei Times. It was very important to us that we started the paper the next week. It was kind of crazy, but we didn't want to have any break in continuity. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a mission of the foundation to keep the community connected, informed, and empowered. We're an educational and charitable nonprofit. Next, please. These are our board of directors. We have a wide array of community leaders, media professionals, educators. Lisa Yokota, the marketing director of KTSF, which is the oldest and largest Asian language station in the country. Paul Osaki, director of the Japanese Cultural Community Center, etc. Next, please. Our advisory council, which includes many people here, including Kemi and Kikumura Yano, Bill Watanabe, who's here. Luckily, all these people, I asked all these people to lend their advice and support, and they said yes for whatever reason. And I'm very grateful for them. Next, please. This is the first issue of the weekly. There's no other way to do this but to say that it's a trial issue, and so we send people, our old subscribers, a trial issue, and it's kind of complicated things too. Next, please. Some of the early issues of the weekly. In the very first couple of weeks, we really didn't have an office. We were kind of operating in guerrilla mode. We were at the National Japanese American Historical Society. We weren't networked. We were passing around jump drives, which is very archaic. It's almost like passing around floppy disks. Next, please. And we've been able to do things like the health and wellness issue. This is a cover story on the Yonsei at UCLA who made a murmur detecting app. Next, please. This is kind of like our staff right now. we were very lucky that we had a lot of volunteers and a lot of people, because at that time, 2009, a lot of journalists were out of work. So we had a lot of people who worked at mainstream journalists, a former assistant editor, sports editor at the Chronicle, former staff of the Oakland Tribune, Orlando Weekly, former associate reporter of Asahi Shimbun, who volunteered at the beginning and who continued to be a large part of our, what I call a movement. It's really nothing short of a movement, because we started this foundation with nothing. We didn't even have the subscriber list, so we've had to rebuild one by one. And like I said, like I always say, in the spirit of Issei, we wanted to rebuild brick by brick. And that's really what we're doing. And it's been an inspiring community movement. We've had hundreds of donors, people who donated more than 100,000 collectively so far. Although our largest donations are only like 5,000. But what happens with the nonprofit format is we open two revenue streams. Not only do we have advertising and subscriptions, or what we call memberships now as a nonprofit term, but we also have the ability to get grants, and we have the ability to get donations. And I think the mood, the general support once we went to nonprofit has changed dramatically. And the reason we say we're the first nonprofit newspaper of its kind is that, shortly after I got a call from a newspaper editor, Italian-American newspaper editor in Chicago, and they were trying to find a model of someone that went from for-profit to nonprofit. They couldn't find anyone but us. This MBA program at University of Minnesota as well, they were looking for models like that, but they couldn't find anything like any other model but us. I think that's the last slide, right? Yeah. Anyways, I'm sure you'll have more questions later, but that's the gist of it.
Thank you, Kenji. That was very complete. I don't think I have any more questions, so you can go home now. Thank you.